Welcome to the Oracle ADF overview demo. My name is Shay Schmelzer and I'm part of the oracle12c developer team. Oracle ADF is Oracle's strategic development framework for enterprise application. It allows you to access information from multiple sources and expose them to multiple channels, including web, mobile, Office, and cloud. In this demonstration, we're going to focus on the web development aspects of Oracle ADF, and we'll show you how Oracle ADF enables a more productive application development experience. We'll show you how ADF uses visual and declarative development approach to define business services in a declarative way, create rich web user interfaces, leverage an advanced controller layer, and simplify binding of user interfaces to business services. Let's build an Oracle ADF application. We start in the model project where we define business services that access a relational database. In this demonstration, we're using the Oracle ADF business component framework to allow us declarative access to an Oracle database. This can be a non-Oracle database as well. But Oracle ADF can also leverage JPA, EJB, web services, and simple Java classes as sources of data. Here we're going to specify which tables we want to access from our database. By going through this wizard, we're actually creating a set of components that will allow us to access the table and update information in those tables. Once the components have been created, we can go into each one of the components and refine the definitions. For example, we're going into the houses component, and we can look at the various attributes that represent a house. Here we look at the price of a house, and we can add a new validation rule. Validations can be done in a declarative way. Here you can see a little list of validations that we can use. And here we're going to define a range validation for the price that is allowed to be specified for a house. We can further define error messages, warning messages, and conditional execution of validation. Another aspect of attributes that you can define declaratively are called UI hints. Those are definitions that are going to control how the component is going to display on your pages by default. Here you can define things such as labels, tooltips, and format mask for various fields. Here we're doing it for the price field. All of those definitions are kept in a separate resource bundle, allowing you to further translate it into different languages as needed. Now that we completed our business services creation, let's go over and create a new web page for our application. We are using JSF and the Facelets technology, and while our page can be based on an existing template, we can also choose a quick layout from a collection of layouts provided by ADF. This is the visual editor where we can actually design our page. We're going to use ADF Faces, a set of over 150 components to define the layout and content of our page. We're using components such as a splitter and panel dashboard to define dynamic areas in our page. Inside the panel dashboard, we're going to add a few boxes to separate our information into areas on the page. ADF supports visual development of user interfaces, and you can further define and refine the definition of each component by using the property inspector. Let's use the splitter again to split the top part of the page into two areas and allocate a section on the right where we can display collections of data. In this case, this is where we're going to display information from the houses table. To access our business services from our user interface, we're using the ADF binding layer. Our business services are exposed as data controls. Those data controls can be dragged and dropped into our pages. We can also drag and drop operations. For example, let's drag over a query operation to create a quick query and a table of data based on the house's business service. We can then move the table of information into the right section of the page. We can reuse the same house's business service to display information in other parts of the page in different formats. For example, let's take the same object, drag it into the page, but this time drop it as an ADF form. This allows us to create either read-only or updatable forms where we can update information directly into the tables. We select which fields to show, we can rearrange them, and once they are created, we are free to go ahead and manipulate them as needed. For example, we can convert the type of user component that is used to display the price of a house into an input number slider component. Again, by using the property inspector, we can set the step size for the arrows that are used in this component. Dragging over components into the page can be used to display information in various formats, not just simple data pages, but in this case we're going to show you how dragging over the houses can be used to display geographical maps. The same technology is used for binding into various types of user interfaces. Over here we're specifying the location of the house, the information that we want to show on the map, and using Oracle ADF Faces map component, we'll be able to display a map of the location of the houses from our table. In the same way of working, you can set properties for the map behavior, for example, to automatically zoom onto the houses that are being displayed. Another layer of Oracle ADF is the controller layer. Oracle ADF uses an extension to the JSF controller to create task flows. Task flows are distinct from simple page flows by allowing you not just to define navigation between pages, but also execution of complete processes, including decision points and method invocation. Here we can see how we define a flow simply by dragging and dropping components onto a diagram, renaming them, and connecting them with arrows. This is going to represent our page flow. Here we have a simple Java class. Let's show you how you can reuse this Java class in your ADF application. You can take any Java class and create a data control out of it. Once you create a data control, similar to how you created a data control that accesses the database, the class itself doesn't change. We simply keep metadata information about the class structure. And now the class is exposed in our data control for you to use. Here you can, for example, pick up one of the methods from the class and drag it into our page flow. This method expects a parameter, so we're going to use a page flow scope, which is a new scope that ADF introduced into the world of JSF. This scope allows us to pass information between multiple pages in our application. Now that we have the components of our flow, we're left with the need to connect them. We'll do it simply by dragging and dropping arrows and connecting the first page to a method execution, to the second page, and then back to the first page. Now we can double click on each one of the pages in our flow to create a new page. We drag and drop ADF Faces components into the page to visually design how the page is going to look, and then we're hooking them into the controller layer. So this button, for example, is going to execute the calculation navigation, and this input text is going to be bounded to the page flow scope variable that will contain a credit score. This is going to be passed to the function, and then the function is going to calculate the rates of mortgages offered, and we're going to display it on this page. Similarly to how we dragged information from the database business service, here we're dragging information from a simple Java class and going to represent it as a graph. Oracle ADF Faces comes with a bunch of data visualization components that allow you to visualize your data in meaningful ways. Now that we completed creating our page flow, the next step is to show you how page flows can be reused inside other pages. This is the mortgage page flow, and this is the page we designed initially. What we can do is drag and drop this page flow as a region inside our ADF page. This allows us to build our application in a hierarchical way and reuse task flows across multiple pages and multiple applications. Here's our application running in the browser. We can resize the page areas. We can execute queries. For example, let's search for houses in a specific city. This executes a query by example against the table in the database and fetches information into our page. The table component is very rich in functionality, allowing you to relocate fields, resize fields, and even hide fields with a pop-up menu that is associated with the table. We can now, for example, execute finer refinement of our query, for example, searching for houses in a specific price range. This is all built-in functionality provided from our business services. Now that we see houses in the table, we can also see them in the map below. When you click on a house in the table, you can see the information in the form representing this house updated automatically. We support field level validation and rich controls for inputting information about houses. The map component allows you to click on houses as well as zoom in and zoom out and relocate the map with a simple drag and drop. And on the right side we can see our page flow where we can insert a credit score and get offered multiple mortgage rate. This whole application was built in under 10 minutes using the power of Oracle ADF. To learn more about Oracle ADF, visit the OTM page for Oracle ADF and follow us on Twitter and Facebook.